Was high school where you kind of got into partying, and is that where that all started?
Yeah, it's where it's yeah, pretty much.
Was it just like friends you were hanging out with, or being with the wrong people, or?
You know, I wish I could blame it on the wrong people, but I think we were the wrong people that other
Mm.
people were hanging out with. Honestly, two of my best friends still today. We became good friends in like the 5th grade, 6th grade. You know, we were sneaking cigarettes from one of their parents in like the 6th grade. And um, we had our sights on wanting to be like the bad kids. We thought it was cool. And even to this day, I was like, you know, we were kind of cool. We were like troublemakers, but nothing like serious. And it was cool and it was fun. It was great. But you know, where it led was not cool. It got out of hand quick. But for that short time, it was a lot of fun.
Man, so like you said, 5th or 6th grade started. That's where
5th or 6th grade,
doing just.
cigarettes. I think 6th or 7th and 8th grade we were smoking joints of like the dirtiest swag I've ever seen. But it was great. And then, I guess high school, it got a little more serious. Still, you know, drinking and smoking, maybe pills, cocaine, and
In high school.
yeah, in high school. And it was like, even going into high school, I was like, I knew I wanted to be like that guy. I wanted to use drugs and I wanted to drink and I wanted to be like the guy that everyone's like, oh, well, he's kind of trouble, but he's nice, but he's just kind of trouble. And so that's what we did. And yeah, high school, it was fun. It was a great time. After high school is when it kind of started to go downhill.
What do you think made you want to be that guy? Like, where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, that's a good question. We had one of these two guys. He had older brothers, and they were like the coolest thing we had ever seen ever. And we looked up to them from when we were very young. And of course, they were in high school when we were in middle school. And then I think when we were freshmen, they were first year college. And man, we just wanted to do everything that they did, and they were just like that.
Dang, so having that influence and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
at the time seemed like something.
Yeah, and I wish
intriguing.
I could say that I was like hanging out with the wrong people, but I sought those people out. Like consciously said, I want to be like
Wow.
these guys, and yeah.
Did your parents know you were doing all this stuff?
Yeah, pretty much.
Did they?
I mean, they didn't know the extent. My mom was like young, partying age in the 80s, like discos and, you know, I guess a little cocaine here and there and stuff like that. And so like, I think in her head, we were just doing what she did, but like really we were like going to extremes. And so yeah, I mean, she caught me with all sorts of stuff, and you know, I'd be like, yeah, you know, I do a little bit when I'm drinking, which, you know, probably shouldn't have allowed it, but I like to think I was pretty convincing back then. And also, like, what parent doesn't want to believe their kid?
Right.
So but yeah, it led where it led, but good news, I made it out the other side,
Yeah.
which a lot don't.
Man, what was that process like from? It was like junior year of high school. Did you get in trouble for drinking drugs or that kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's
I got in trouble a couple times my junior year. The second time I actually got kicked out of the school.
Was it for doing it like on school property or something?
It was no, but a friend of mine had gotten in trouble, and she was like, I got it from Mitch. Like, I wasn't like dealing drugs, but you know, I would buy enough to have for my friends and I. And I mean, she did give me money for it, but I wasn't like saying like, hey, I'm the drug dealer, but like,
Dang.
I was just sharing.
Just guilty by association.
Yeah, basically. And she got in trouble, and she was like, well, Mitch had him. And so they searched my car. They pulled me out of class and went through my car. And yeah, they were like, hey, we won't call the cops but we're asking you to leave the school. And I was like, yeah, I'm out. See ya.
You just accepted it?
I mean, yeah, there's not much I could do. I didn't want to get the police involved, and I didn't want to like really have it known to everybody, which it ended up being known, of course. Small community. But yeah, you know, and I look back at everything I did, and I don't regret anything. You know, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do the same things. But I don't regret what I did because it's made me who I am today. And I think I have an advantage in that my outlook on life is just nothing is ever going to be as bad as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking like from the time I started getting sober till when I actually got sober, that was awful. It was just every day was just horrible. Basically just using to not be sick. And it is just, you're a slave to this drug. And you know, we can touch on that later or not, but it is horrible. And those things that I went through really have given me an appreciation for life. And everybody has struggles, everybody has hard times, and I can just always go back to, it's never going to be that bad. I can get through this. My dad died 2 years ago. I thought for sure that was going to be something like losing a parent that would take me out. And again, it was just like, I can get through this. I was there for my family. And it's not as bad as things were before. I can't even, there was nothing worse.
Really?
I mean, you just develop so much like self-hate. Like there's probably as much suffering as people have, but like I would bet that like having self-hate and like self-loathing is probably one of the worst things a person can go through. Because there's really like, what options do you have? You can get help, and that's what I did, but it's very hard to like get help, to like build up the courage to ask someone
Right.
to help you.
I think, I mean, I can't speak from experience, but I would imagine that trying to get help that requires you admitting that you're doing something
Oh
wrong.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's a great point, because early on, it was definitely out of hand, and I knew it was, but only a portion of it was. Like I was using opiates, I was using heroin and Oxycontin, and I was like, I just don't want to do that because that makes me so sick and so miserable, and I hate myself when I do it. And I wanted to cut that out, but I didn't want to like necessarily cut out drinking and smoking and stuff like that. And but I quickly learned that it all had to go for anything to work.
Man, how did it kind of continuously get worse or progressively get worse
Oh
from
man.
high school?
Yeah, it really started my second semester of college. I had a roommate's friend. He was a friend. He was a great friend. Um, he had, like, I experimented like in high school with like uppers and pills and stuff like that. He was more of like, in high school he did opiates. And so when we met, we were like, we would like share what we had done, and I was like, well, I'll try your opiates. You can try my this stuff, and you know, who knew that mixing it was just going to be the greatest thing ever. But yeah, we ended it just went really, really downhill when I tried opiates. Like I tried Oxycontin for the first time, and I was like, man, I want to do this every day for the rest of my life. It is so great. And
What is that feeling like when you're up like that?
I mean, it's like if you ever taken a hydrocodone, Percocet, it's just like a euphoria. It's like a full body euphoria. It makes you tired, of course, but the idea is you don't want to go to sleep because then you miss the high. But it's a euphoria. That's all it is.
How many do you have to take to get up to
Oh
that
man,
point?
I mean, a person who doesn't take them could take like half a pill. I mean, they're very, very strong.
Right.
This medication, like Oxycontin, morphine, fentanyl, in my opinion, those should only be prescribed to people in hospice, like literally on their deathbed, because they are so powerful. You see on the news every day that these kids are dying from fentanyl overdoses. Fentanyl is such a strong drug, and people get it prescribed to them. Like the stuff that we were buying were from people who would go to doctors, get it prescribed for whatever
Jeez.
reason, and they'd sell it instead because, there's a huge market for it. You can charge a lot for it because they're very hard to get. They should not be available to anyone unless you're dying, because it is such a strong drug. It
Yeah.
really is. It's incredible, and it can kill you so easily. And I just want to kind of say, like I keep saying, like it was so great, but at the time it was great. It was what I knew. It was what I wanted to do. I'm not like glamorizing drug use. It's a horrible thing, but I mean, the reality is it was really fun for a long time. And then we're touching on like the self-hating and self-loathing. Like it gets horrible, and that's inevitable. Addiction will always get horrible. I didn't really answer your question. You asked about the progression. Started with Oxycontin. Oxycontin was very expensive. Went on to heroin. Heroin's super cheap, super easy to use. You can smoke it, you can snort it, you can eat it, or you can shoot it up. Of course, like the most bang for your buck is going to be shooting it up, because you get all of it at once, all at the same time. Yeah, it's awful. Today, I'm not ashamed about it. I feel like my story helps people, and of course helps people that are going through addiction, but really it's just like, I want to inspire people who are going through anything hard. Everybody has something that they're going through or have gone through, and it's as catastrophic as my addiction was to me. What they're going through is that catastrophic to them. And you can get through it. And my biggest thing is like, ask for help. Have a community. Community is so huge. I chose the fitness community, and man, it impresses me every single day. Like you and I, like we have different fitness aspirations, but like at the same time, like we're the same. We're the
Mhm.
same. We work hard. We wake up early. We work hard, and we do the best we can. And that's what we have in common, and that brings us together.
Dude, I think that's I remember the first like interaction I had with you. I think I replied to one of your Instagram stories. It might have been after CIM or something,
Mm-hmm.
or I maybe wish you luck or said how insane it was, how fast you're running, and your only response was like, "We all work just as hard."
Yeah, I
And
mean
I'm
that's the
like,
truth. Yeah.
you're a Olympic trials qualifier, and you're like just having the humility to be like that and not be like, "Oh, I know I'm way faster than you. I probably worked way harder than you."
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
instead, you have the reverse, the more humble, modest mindset, which is
so I try and mention this too, is like I do work very hard, but a lot of people work very hard. I'm very aware that I have the genetics and I have talent. So someone who's working just, I mean, it may not be that someone who works as hard as I am can get to where I've gotten. It's just the cards I was dealt. But at the end of the day, we're all working hard and we're all doing it for the same reason. I don't do it to, I mean, I love competing, but I don't do it for that. I do it to make myself better. I do it to set a goal, accomplish that goal, move on to the next one. The gratification I get from that is just so enormous, and it's really translated into everything in my life, my career, my friends. It's taught me patience and things that are worthwhile take a long time to get to. But yeah, like we're the same. We want to just do better every day.
when. What year did you graduate high school?
2008.
2008. And then how long did that journey last for?
You mean like from 2008 until
Until sobriety. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I got sober in 2015.
Okay, so 7 years of that.
Yeah, solid 7 solid years of being miserable, pretty much.
How long did it take for it to become miserable? Because you said it was good for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
it dropped off. How
So
long?
when I mentioned that second semester of my freshman year of college, that first semester I had like cleaned up my act a little bit. I went off to college. I was like, I've got to do college. Like I only get one shot at this. Fortunately, my parents were paying for it. So, but I have this one shot, and I was like, I got to clean my act up. So I went to college with the mindset I was just gonna drink, and I was just gonna drink on the weekends, and it was only gonna be beer. And I did that for about 6 months, and then around I guess it was like November or something or maybe October, towards the end of the semester is when I started trying opiates. And within like a couple months, I remember the first time I had like a withdrawal symptom, and I had no idea what it was. I was sick and I thought I had the flu or something like that. And I went and picked up some pills, and I got high, and I was like, I don't feel sick anymore. What is going on? And I was like, whatever. I moved on, didn't think anything of it.
Wow.
And then like later on, like another week went by, and I had run out, and it was not a big deal because I was like, I'll just get more later. I wasn't like worried about it. I wasn't to the point where I was like a fiend. But I had gotten sick, and my friend was like, dude, that's what opiate withdrawals are. And I was like, oh, this is horrible. Worst thing I've ever felt.
Jeez.
Yeah. So very quickly after trying it, I was like, really, I think from the day I tried it, and from then on, I did it every day.
Every single day.
And I mean, that's how I used. The first time I smoked marijuana, I guess it was a little slower progression, but I smoked every day. I used every drug I basically used every day.
Wow. And it happened, it sounds like within a couple of months to where the withdrawal started kicking
Oh
in.
yeah. I would say a month or 2
Jeez,
months.
that's
And
so
then,
fast.
and from there until I got sober, it was just a constant cycle of, I'll start with where it started. I would get high, and then I would have to just maintain. Basically, my whole day went into like finding the drugs I was going to use so that I wouldn't be sick. And that was waking up every morning, and that was the routine. How am I going to get money? How am I going to get drugs? How am I going to, be okay? And from there, I mean, that was a cycle that I would run out of money, or I would get in trouble, and then I'd go to rehab, and then I'd get out of rehab, and I'd be sober for a little while, and then I'd be like, well, I want to drink, or well, I want to smoke. It'll be okay. And then inevitably I'm right back, shooting up heroin and cocaine or meth or whatever. And it was just a cycle over and over and over. I think it was like, for those 7 years, I basically went to rehab once a year, sometimes twice a year.
Did you check yourself into rehab or
No, never. That's kind of interesting. An interesting concept. There's a lot of not opinions, but people will say, hey, you're not ready till you're ready. Well, I wasn't ready. I was not ready. The day that I went into rehab to get sober this time around, I actually got in big trouble in the treatment center because I snuck drugs in, and I got so high I passed out, and I was like in bed and I like passed out, and I had everything like sitting on my chest, and the nurse walks in, she's like, what
Oh
is
my
going
God.
on here? Like they like strip you down, do a strip search. I
Yeah.
mean, not like super formal. I think I had it like in the lining of my boxers, like I had done that at other rehabs, so I kind of knew how to get away with it, but I didn't get away with it, and I almost got kicked out, and they almost called the cops, and
Man.
but so my whole point is that I was not ready. I didn't go into that treatment center to get sober. I went in to dry out, get out, get a job, make some money, and then I was going to go right back to what I was doing, which is what I did every single time.
How many times did that happen?
6 or 7 times.
Jeez.
Yeah. But my point is, I wasn't ready to get sober, but I got sober.
Yeah.
And I did it sort of out of spite. Like, okay, you guys are telling me that if I do this 12-step program and I work with others and I do the things that y'all are asking, that I'll be sober. If I do it to the best of my ability, I will get sober and stay sober, and I won't obsess about using drugs. I was like, look, I've tried everything, but you know what? I will give it my all this time just to prove to you that it doesn't work. And then I'm sitting here right now and I can tell you that it works.
Really? So that final time where you went through that 12-step thing.
Yes, correct.
That truly did it.
Yes.
And the only reason you did it was to prove to them that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
And I was like, I'll give it a shot for a couple months, and if it works, then great. I didn't like. I wanted. Here's what I say. I wanted to want to quit. I didn't want to quit, but I really wanted to want to quit.
I can understand.
Yeah.
That
And so I was like, you know what? If it makes me quit and want to stay sober, then that would be fantastic. But I just don't think it will.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, I don't know what the 12-step program, you have to go through the whole thing, but like what about that specifically do you think was finally able to switch something?
I don't know. I could talk about the 12 steps for hours and hours and hours, but it's something that we like to keep anonymous for other people's sake.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too much into it, but it's basically just like the first part of it is admitting, yes, I do have a problem, which was easy. That's actually the first step. I have a problem. I knew I had a problem for a long time. The second step is the second portion of it is like thinking maybe there's something out there stronger than me, whether that's the universe or God or whatever it is. There's something out there. There is something out there stronger than me. I don't know. I don't care to have it explained to me. I do know that there is at least a possibility. And then, you move a little further along and you're like, okay, well, I've got to turn these things over to whatever that is, spirituality, God, whatever. I've got to turn my actions and my willpower over because I can't will my way out of this. I tried and tried and tried to will my way out. And then after that, it's kind of like just looking at yourself, looking at your defects. I can tell you 100% my reason for using. Of course, I thought it was cool and wanted to do that, but really what it comes down to is fear. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of people. I was afraid what people were going to think about me. I was afraid people weren't going to like me. I was afraid I wasn't going to be successful. All comes down to fear and self-esteem, which is fear. And so I really had to look at the things that I was afraid of, and I had to really work with someone else, and they had to like explain to me like, these are legitimate fears, but look, here's why this shouldn't be a fear, because you can rely on something. Yeah. So anyway, and then after that, it's all about helping others. So, and I take that really into, I take that very seriously today with really everything. And it was told to me that you can't keep what you have unless you give it away. And so I do that with anything I know anything about. Like I want to share it with whoever. And of course it's like teaching or learning anything. You learn so much by teaching it. And you may not be the most familiar with it, but the more you teach what you do know, you pick up more things along the way. So for a long time, I was just all about giving back and helping other new guys into the program and people struggling. And that I think was really the game changer, was helping others. I was told very early on that the obsession to drink and use drugs was going to leave me very quickly once I got into this 12-step program. It did. And the rest of the time, you are focusing on life. And this program could be for anybody. Everybody could benefit from this, because basically it just teaches you that like you've got to give up control and things are going to happen you know, of course you got to try, but things are going to happen regardless of what you do. It's out of your hands, and just kind of roll with it and do the best you can.